Manx Radio's Update with Andy Wint.
Pastor Mai, good evening. It's 5:30. This is Update for Monday, 29th of April 2024 from Manx Radio. 30 minutes looking at the latest news on the Isle of Man. Background to that news, we've got sport and business, travel updates and the newsmakers in person this evening. Those wind turbine blades won't come ashore at Castletown. A slight decrease in unemployment on the island. The community kept the southern pool open, says the chair. 3 out of 4 houses sold to island residents to live in, and the Ravens secured a top 10 spot to finish their season.
Man Benham for all your business and legal needs.
First of all, at 29 minutes ahead of 6 o'clock, the update news headlines. Fastamai Chanel Suku.
Fastamai. Tesco's issued an apology to some Douglas residents after parking issues at their new store. Residents of Linden Grove have complained that staff were taking up parking spaces on the estate. In a statement, it says it's asked colleagues to use the store car park going forward and to respect the needs of residents. Castletown Beach has been ruled out as the preferred option for landing wind turbines. It says Manx Utilities progresses plans to build a wind farm at Eristane. And it is anticipated that over the next 18 months, there'll be an increase in the amount of new built properties on the market. The Environment, Food and Agriculture Minister reported that there are approximately 650 planning applications for new housing developments currently in the pipeline. In international news, Scotland's First Minister is quitting, admitting he mishandled how he cut political ties with the Greens. Kate Forbes, who Hamza Yousaf defeated last year, is thought to be actively considering standing again. MPs are debating whether there needs to be a change in the law to make assisted dying legal. A petition backed by Dame Esther Ranson has been signed by more than 200,000 people. And Lord Cameron's urging Hamas to accept what he calls a generous deal in return for the release of Israeli hostages. It includes a 40-day ceasefire in Gaza, along with thousands of Palestinian prisoners potentially being set free. Those are your headlines. News at 6.
Secure tomorrow today with Man Benham's guidance on powers of attorney and more. Manx Radio Weather with Manx Glass and Glazing.
Goramaya, thank you. Chanel from the Runnelsway Met Office. There is a strong wind warning in operation for the North Irish Sea. State of sea currently is moderate. And the weather, well, plenty of cloud around, but also some bright intervals, they reckon, with a fresh to strong south or southeasterly this evening. It'll be dry through the night. Some rain heading our way towards dawn. Lowest temperature 9. And for Tuesday, Jamaica, cloudy with periodic light and patchy rain on a fresh to strong southeasterly, up to 13 degrees Celsius. Overnight minimum is 9. Jacrane, Wednesday, mostly dry, top temperatures 14. The sun sets this evening at 12 minutes to 9. Low water 10 o'clock. High tide 9 minutes before 4 a.m. Sunrise 18 minutes to 6. And low water 26 minutes past 10.
Manx Glass and Glazing can supply and install single, double and triple glazing. Call 674 573 or visit the showroom on the Snugborough Trading Estate.
Castletown Beach has been ruled out as Manx Utilities' preferred option for landing those wind turbine blades. It's as the authority progresses plans to build a wind farm at Eristane. The story from Amy Griffiths.
In October last year, the green light was given to progress plans for the onshore wind farm. Government says the initial assessments meant the site appears to have the lowest environmental impact when compared to other options. Manx Utilities is now progressing the project to the environmental impact assessment and design stage. The controversial plans are expected to cost around £36 million in total. Now, though, the authority has confirmed that Castletown Beach is no longer a preferred option as a landing location. It says the completion of a swept path analysis for transport routes has determined Douglas Port to be the best place. Should the development proceed, Manx Utilities says the turbines, with blades measuring around 170 feet, would land instead at Victoria Pier. They'll then be transported to the site via Castletown and Port Erin. It's hoped the wind farm will be able to generate more than 20 megawatts of energy for the island, enough to power around 20,000 homes.
The steam packet's 5-day short break offer should be reviewed, according to members from the Department for Enterprise. They've been giving evidence to a Tynwald committee looking at the regulation of the steam packet. Chief Exec of Visit Isle of Man, Deborah Heather, says around 60% of tourists to the Isle of Man come by boat.
I think one of the ways the steam packet does its pricing strategy is that they've got this 5-day discount fares, and if you look at our passenger surveys, we're getting an average stay of 5.4 a night stay, so it feeds directly into the market. You can see that we're not really a short-term holiday-let place. We're somewhere that people come for longer periods, and that for me feels like if we took a view around the occupancy of the boat and took away the 5-day discount fares, then people could come for whatever length of stay they wanted, and that's been proved to have changed businesses inordinately at post-COVID, where people can choose the amount of days that they'd like to stay. Then actually businesses are doing incredibly well. Gone are the days of the sort of Saturday to Saturday type arrangement. People expect flexibility in it, and I think that's blocking it a little. The other thing in there is obviously it's more sustainable if they stay longer. It's better for our biosphere status. There's less travel involved. It's healthier. And so I think there's an opportunity to look at the whole pricing piece. We have ongoing discussions as part of the agency, as part of the board. We talk to the steam packet as well when we get feedback from that. I think some of the frustrations, I guess, for the businesses on the island would be around the availability of fares. I think TT is a great example in that it becomes almost a lottery when you're buying your fare, and then they suddenly get released. And I think what we have found as an agency that we've been trying to work on the travel trade industry, and of course travel trade work with 18 months notice. Appreciate there's difficulties in terms of the steam packet and scheduling, but we do need a much longer window to secure longer term bookings for the rest of the island.
If you have a news story for Manx Radio to investigate and report, email newsroom@manxradio.com or call 682 631 any time of day or night.
Past my 23 minutes before 6, FC Isle of Man secured a top 10 finish in the NWCFL Premier Division table, bettering their 13th place standing last season. The Ravens took victory over Lower Breck at the weekend, and boss Paul Jones has been reflecting on the last 9 months.
Part of my role in how I approach things is you're here to develop people through football, and I've seen a huge amount of development as people and players through the group, and that's really pleasing. The way the supporters club 12th man have grown that for home and away games has been fantastically appreciated by us, but it's amazing really to really start to feel that beating heart of the club coming to life, and the last few home games have just been getting better and better and better. So those two bits are exceptionally pleasing. I think hopefully people can see the progress we've made on the pitch. A 9th place finish this year is really good, but it's also disappointing. We know we've left a lot of points on the pitch there this year, and that kind of gives us the hunger to push on again, really.
Brings me on a little bit to the question on the flip side. What have been the biggest challenges, do you think, and maybe the biggest frustrations that you'd maybe try to learn from and possibly work to overcome going into the next season? Yeah,
I think as any kind of manager or coach, you're looking for perfection all of the time, and you're never going to get it, and you're never going to get anywhere close to it, really. But you can certainly kind of make fewer mistakes as you learn and improve. And I think one of the big disappointments was in that middle part of the season, we were the masters of our own downfall, really, and we made too many mistakes. And basically the reason we're 9th place in the league and not 3rd or 4th is that little spell, and that's disappointing because I think the players from their commitment deserved more than that, but actually we got what we deserved because we didn't switch on well enough in key moments in those games. So that's disappointing, really, but I think everyone can look back and on the positive and the successful bits that we've had, and we know we're in a really good place for next season, and hopefully after a little bit of a break we'll hit the ground running.
There was a slight decrease in unemployment in the Isle of Man last month, but the number of people looking for work's almost level with this time last year. Looking at the stats, Lewis Foster.
The total out of work in March fell by 14 compared to February. However, the number of people registered unemployed, 292, is one above the total for March 2023. Of that total, 200 are male, the remaining 92 female. The sectors with the highest number of unemployed persons were catering and entertainment, other business business services, miscellaneous services and retail. Meanwhile, catering and entertainment also appears alongside the sectors with the highest number of vacancies at 102. That's surpassed by the number in retail, which has 120 vacancies, and medical and health services, in which there are 157 jobs up for grabs. The unemployment rate for March 2024, which is the proportion of economically active population registered unemployed, is 0.7%, remaining the same as February. You can find a link to the latest labour market report via manxradio.com.
The Isle of Man in 30 minutes. Update on Manx Radio with Andy Wint.
Faster mites, 20 to 6. The motor vessel Manxman is just on the outskirts of Douglas Bay, and she'll be onto the link span in the next 10-15 minutes or so. Be kind to anybody who's been on board. The chair of the Southern Swimming Pool says the community rallying together is what helped keep the pool open. Lawrence Vaughan Williams says a recent meeting with the Chief Minister, Alfred Cannon, a new Department of Education, Sport and Culture Minister, Daphne Kane, MHK, was positive.
Very positive, and how do I feel? A massive sigh of relief. The Isle of Man is a wonderful place. And when you get a situation where the executive decides to undertake or implement policies which are not popular with the residents of the area, then they will show their disquiet. And that's what happened here when the decision was made, effectively without much warning, to close that pool. The community rallied round, the MHKs rallied round, and a little girl wrote to the minister saying, please don't take my pool. That is community action. That is what I love about the Isle of Man. Absolutely wonderful. I think having sat in one meeting where the then minister said there were no plans within the Castle Russian development to build a new pool, and then seeing that shortly afterwards it was stated that there were, yes, I think it's marvellous. Of course, it's like anything else. If you have an old motor car, you can get it serviced, you can put on new parts, but eventually it's going to let you down and you're probably going to need a new one. So that is the situation we are with the pool. Like everything else, people's expectations have changed, the demands have changed. Without that subvention, if we didn't have that guarantee, we would have worked out that funds would have run out before the end of this year, if that hadn't been guaranteed.
Manx Radio Business Briefing.
At 17 minutes before 6, mining giant BHP and its Brazilian joint venture partner have submitted a $25.7 billion settlement for the collapse of a tailings dam in 2015 that killed 19 people and devastated the local community. Samarco, the joint company set by the Australian BHP and Brazilian operator Vale, has so far paid out $3.5 billion. The new offer is an unbinding indicative settlement proposal within BHP Brazil's provision for the dam failure. The negotiations between the parties are ongoing and no final agreement's been reached on the settlement amount or terms, BHP said in a statement. And for a full daily market review, go to ramseycrookall.com. Artificial intelligence will reduce the need for call centres within a year, says the chief exec of the Indian IT giant Tata Consultancy Services. Kriti Krisivavan told the Financial Times that while no jobs have been cut yet, the adoption of generative AI by clients will overhaul call centres that provide mass employment in places like India and the Philippines. He said chatbots will analyse customer histories and proactively address issues, minimising incoming calls. Ideally, he reckons there'll be minimum incoming call centres having incoming calls at all. The situation's now where the technology should be able to predict a call coming and then proactively address the customer's pain point. Mr. Kriti Vasan cautioned that generative AI's immediate impact is overhyped, with the real effects coming later. He disputed whether it would reduce overall jobs, arguing more tech talent will be needed.
The Stock Market Report, brought to you by Ramsey Crookall.
UK and European stocks were higher as investors look ahead to a more central bank decisions this week. Wall Street stocks were in the green early on as investors braced for more corporate earnings. Gold rose, helped by a softer US dollar, and oil dipped. The numbers now from Ramsey Crookall. At the close in London, the FTSE 100 is up 0.1%, 5,147. The DAX in Frankfurt down 0.2%, 18,131. A short time ago in New York City, the Dow Jones Industrial up 0.2%, 38,317. The Nasdaq Tech Stocks Index up 0.25%, 15,964. The S&P 500 in Chicago up just over 0.2% at 5,111. In the exchange markets, the British pound sterling's trading at $1, 25.5 cents, €1, 17 cents, and 23 South African rand, 39 cents. In commodities, gold down barely 0.02%, $2,337 per troy ounce, and a barrel of Brent crude is down 0.8% at $87.37.
I'm running late again. Do you know where I put my car keys?
In the fridge.
Where's my phone?
Under the dog basket.
Bye.
You haven't forgotten that we're seeing Ramsey Crookall later?
Oh, no, of course not. 5 p.m, is it?
2:45.
I'll be there.
Life is busy. That's why Ramsey Crookall's team takes time to help you make a mindful investment decision, considering all the options, giving you full control of your financial future. Less stress, more assurance.
Forgot to put my shoes on.
See how we can make your money work for you. Call 717171 or visit ramseycrookall.com. Licensed and regulated by the Isle of Man Financial Services Authority.
This is the most listened to Isle of Man news source, and Manx Radio's Update is the Isle of Man's most downloaded news podcast.
Faster by 14 minutes before 6. The Mountain Road is currently wreathed in mist and fog, but doesn't matter really because it's closed until 10 o'clock tomorrow night for maintenance and TT preparation work. All the travel news on the way shortly. It's hoped within the next 18 months we'll start to see more houses appearing on the market. The Environment, Food and Agriculture Minister has been reflecting on a series of public meetings held last week, which saw housing among the main talking points throughout. Claire Barber, MHK, says there's some misinformation about housing out there.
75% of properties being purchased on the island are being purchased by island residents to live in. And I think that's an important piece, because I think there had been some speculation that actually was large numbers of off-island investors. And actually the off-island investors is around 0.5%. It's a tiny number of those people within that cohort. So that allows us to understand a little bit better what we're working on, which definitely indicates the problem is the number of properties we have available. So there was talk around some of the schemes that Treasury are looking at to bring some of the vacant properties back into use. There's also the work that Manx Development Corporation have done with the old nurses' home, specifically looking at a place where key workers will be able to settle immediately on coming to the island. And I think all of those things started to talk about some of the things we're already in train, things that have already happened, but also some of the other projects. You know, the number of planning applications for new houses that are sitting in the application system at the minute, around 650 new builds. So all of that is heading in the right direction. But I suppose with anything, construction doesn't happen immediately. But absolutely all of the work we've done around planning has been with the intention of trying to open that up and allow it to happen while still maintaining a responsible planning system. So I think there is good news in the housing space. My expectation would certainly be that within the next year and a half, we'll start to see some of these houses coming online, with DOI committing to review the mid-rent schemes, committing to look at not just the first-time buyers, but also the second-time buyers and possibly the last-time buyers. Every part of the market at the current time is in a bit of a lockjam. So actually, if we can resolve some of those issues, free some of those properties up and allow people to go to a property more suited to their size, we should have more units. But I absolutely acknowledge the reality is this will be tested in the results.
Manx Radio Sport.
Fast am I, John Moss.
Good evening. The first round proper of the Ascot Hotel Junior Cup for combination teams saw the adjudicating panel called in to decide 3 ties where pressure of fixtures meant teams could not be fielded. So judged away wins for St John's at Ayr and for Old Boys at Castletown, and a home win for St Mary's against Jims. Those games played: Douglas Athletics 7, Old Boys 2, Michael United 1, Union Mill 6, Peel 2, Corinthians 1, Ramsey 3, Moran 0, and Russian United 13, Governors Athletic 0. Next round on Sunday. Isle of Man FC striker Furo Davies is likely to have played his last game for the club before he and his family move. He's thanked everyone for their support, and indeed the island returns thanks for his performances. The final stage of cycling's Tour of Turkey was called off because of heavy rain in Istanbul. See, we aren't the only ones. Mark Cavendish and Sam Brand both came through down the field, admittedly 90th and 119th. Quite a few did not finishes, DNFs, but for Cav, chasing that elusive 35th Tour de France stage win in the summer, the building process and putting the miles into the legs after his early season illness continues. Off island as well, bronze for Yasmin Ingham in Kentucky in the Defender 3-day event on board Vanzai de Loire. What a great partnership that is. And a good win for middle distance's David Mullarkey in the Peyton Jordan Invitational 5 in the US, competing for Florida State University.
Manx Radio Travel, driven by Quayside Tyres and Service Centre.
Inbound at Ronaldsway, the 5:25 Loganair from Manchester was on time. Next, 25-8 EasyJet from London Gatwick on time. The 5-8 Loganair returning patient transfer from Liverpool showing on time. And then the 10-9 Loganair from London City on time. Outbound, the 6 o'clock Loganair to Liverpool's on time, and then the returning 8:05 EasyJet to Gatwick showing on time. I mentioned the Mountain Roads closed for TT preparation work and general maintenance between the Bungalow and the Craig until 10 o'clock tomorrow night. In Farm Hill, temporary lights in Farm Hill on Belafton Manor Hill near the Cool Ferran junction for resurfacing. Temporary lights on Sandygate Road for work on the pavements. In Braddon, temporary lights on Vicarage Road at Stevenson's Way at the roundabout there for water main replacement. Be patient. In Port Sodrick, parts of the old Castletown Road closed between Port Sodrick Glen and Marine Drive for carriageway repairs. Brighton Terrace is closed between Mount Bradder and Trinity Church by the Rosemount Pub for gas main replacement work. Hillside Avenue closed to Circular Road. Swatsland Road's got some building work till November. Sections closed there. Phased closures of the Ballakilferrick Road for water main work. Phased closures on the Starvey Road for water main work. Kean Drocker Road in Andros is closed in phases for water main work. Temporary lights on the Jerby Road near Mountain View Innovation Centre. They're repairing hedges. How? In Port Erin, temporary lights on Church Road near Russian Church for patching work.
Quayside Tyres and Service Centre with 1 year's free engine warranty from Castrol. Get more with
Under 16-year-olds could be banned from having a smartphone with them at school, part of a public consultation being run by the Department for Education, Sport and Culture. Considering the move, it's asking your opinion ahead of any laws being drawn up. The Education, Sport and Culture Minister, Daphne Kane, MHK.
I'm not an analyst and I'm not a teaching professional or an education professional, but I am a parent, and we are all aware, I think it's since 2013, some of recent media articles are suggesting that the mental health issues that you see across society and increasingly in schools may not be down to the post-COVID time or the anxiety, although that certainly played a part, and actually can be traced back to the introduction of smartphones back in 2013. Now, whatever your perspective, I'm aware that there are some very successful schools, head teachers, where they have banned smartphones in lessons. They're locked up at the beginning of the day. Some have a very old brick type phone only for essential communication. I'm aware some students require smartphones, for instance, for medical reasons, but as a society, it's an aspect that we need to consider. Students require tools to be able to use all technology, everything from AI to smartphones, in an appropriate way to benefit learning, research and development. They are a factor of modern society, but it's one of a number of areas that the current public consultation on the Education Amendment Bill is seeking the public's views on, and I would be really pleased if anybody who has an interest in education would take a look at that public consultation and feel free to give us the feedback through that so it can be considered when we come to drafting the legislation that will be reforming at the law relating to the education system for the next generation.
The only radio station that's Manx, and we're proud of it. Celebrating 60 years, this is Manx Radio.
Work's underway to ensure port security knows who is coming to the Isle of Man by sea. Home Affairs Minister Jane Paul Wilson, MHK, says her department's looking to have more effective operation at the ports, but some law changes could be required.
It was an important opportunity not only to hear from people, but for us to reconnect and talk about what is going on. So the questions I got specifically around the sort of Home Affairs area touched on things like security and, you know, what are we doing to tackle any threats, and that was a really good opportunity to talk about some of the work we're doing now to enhance port security in our entry points to the island. And I think, people have seen the extensive reporting about the fantastic work the constabulary have been doing to tackle serious and organised crime. But it was a really good opportunity to talk about, well, what are we doing next? We're focusing on working with ports policing so we can have better and more effective operations at the ports, looking at technology solutions, working with partners such as the steam packet and so on to look at our passenger verification, and where we need to, we'll pick up any legislative change that we need to make changes around there. So that was a very good opportunity to talk about what has happened, what is happening.
That's it for Update Tonight, compiled from the resources of Manx Radio's news department. Thanks to newsreader Chanel Suku. Producer Amy Griffiths. After the news at 6, Phil Gordon's along with our political programme Agenda. Greatest Hits with Chris Kinley at 6. Ian Kocher with Time for Brass at 9. And Update returns tomorrow at 5:30.
WINT